Welcome to Future Fears, a somatic exploration of pre-traumatic stress with Jana Diamond. My name is Misha Jane, and I am Operations Manager at Reimagine. For anyone who might need a visual description, I am a white cis woman with brown eyes and mid-length brown hair of European and Asian descent. I am wearing a pastel green collared shirt, and my pronouns are she, her. Each month this summer, we're presenting programs on Wednesdays that focus on a theme. This month, we've looked at mental health through the lens of growth or transformation. Next month's theme is facets of grief. Like a gemstone, grief has a multitude of surfaces, angles, and aspects, mostly hard and rough, but on occasion, it shines as a resource for creativity, self-knowledge, and action. The majority of us are zooming in from the United States, also known as Turtle Island by Native Americans and their allies. I'm in Catawba, Sugary, also known as Charlotte, North Carolina. Let us know where you're located. And if you're curious about the Indigenous land where you're living, check out native-land.ca. For those who wish, please click on the closed captioning icon, the CC icon at the bottom of your screen to get a live transcript of what's being said. So I would like to introduce our workshop leader for today, Jana Diamond. 2 weeks ago, we traveled to Puerto Rico and learned from a wonderful group of LGBTQ+ leaders on the ways in which they alleviate anxiety about climate change. Today's workshop is an excellent follow-up for that discussion. Our leader, Jana Diamond, is an eco-somatic practitioner who will guide us for about 70 minutes. You can read more about Jana in the link that I'll put in the chat shortly. She is a somatic practitioner working at the intersection of trauma healing, consciousness, and the climate crisis. In 2020, she co-led a ritual to breathe life into our collective losses in partnership with the Extinction Rebellion, a global nonviolent movement to compel the world's governments to address the climate emergency. So with that, please welcome Jana Diamond.
Hello and welcome to the recording of Future Fears, a somatic exploration of pre-traumatic stress. I'm Jana Diamond. I want to thank the Reimagine team for the invitation to be here with you all. This is just a couple minute re-recorded version before you jump into the program that was live. So today we're talking about fear and anticipatory anxiety, how we meet it in these days, since it seems to be such a major part of our collective lives right now and an inherent part of survival. So I invite you to go on a journey with us, one that honors where you are in this moment, that honors the right amount of stretch for you. It is a big endeavor to even enter such a large topic in a short amount of time, and so I really want to honor where you are and acknowledge that we're each bringing our history, our early childhood experiences, our life experiences, our lineages, our ancestors with us to this work, to this moment. And I just want to hold that with a lot of tenderness so that we may each take another step from wherever we are. This is an opportunity to be together in something that is big, that can be incredibly overwhelming. And so I want to invite you to be in the relational field with me. I know when we did this live, I really encourage participants to engage, whether through chat or in voices. And so if you're watching this at a later time, encourage you to try on new things. Exhale perhaps a little louder with a sigh, and see how it feels to be a part of something that has connective tissue and a web out beyond ourselves. So with that, I want to welcome some different parts of us I want to warmly welcome your curiosity and your courage, your hearts, your heart. Many of our hearts are especially heavy right now. I want to welcome the parts of you that are apprehensive, that love new spaces and learning, and also the parts that aren't sure or aren't sure yet. I want to welcome the places in you that hold pain and know beauty. This is a big one, holding both of these. I want to welcome the places inside of you that feel storms brewing, temperatures rising, waves, earthquakes, disjointedness, and that can feel the earth's aches as your own. And at the same time, can really appreciate sunrises, stargazing, moon cycles. So I know I mentioned ancestors earlier, but I want to also name that the indigenous land that has unprocessed material that we learn, walk, sleep, rest, move, dance upon, right? So although we think of ourselves, generally speaking, as individuals, we are in a container and we are connected. So it's an honor to be with you in this. It's an honor to be with you in this moment, wherever you are. So it's a good opportunity, as we did in the workshop, to take a look around and see who else is in the space with you. And so I want to encourage you, wherever you are, to make contact either with me or who you imagine your neighbors to be. It's calling in others who are alive at the same time as us, more likely as sensitive or can feel at least an inkling of what we do. Yeah. And so just notice, imagine there are lots of boxes on the screen here of others calling in, videoing in from time zones, multiple time zones and multiple countries, that we're in this together. And so with that, I'm going to invite us into a grounding practice that can allow us to take another step towards awakening the senses that are connected to our human experience. So go ahead and take a breath and see if you can come into your own body here. I'll let that lead into the original recording. Thanks so much for being with us. Great. Hope that's okay for everyone. So just notice maybe where you're drawn or who might pull you in, what you notice about faces or spaces that you can see. Now everyone in here is likely as sensitive as you are and is feeling similarly in many different ways, and likely also has different gifts and strengths than you have in these days. Yeah. And so one of my intentions here as we open the door to disrupt what I feel is not ours alone, something that we have to hold on our own, but that in a group we have even more capacity to transmute the energy of emotions on multiple levels. And so here we are gathered together. Thank you for showing up with everything that you're bringing. And I'd love to take a moment to ground in our bodies here. So you have an option of standing or sitting. Maybe invite your senses to come into your body. As we slow down once more, paying attention to the temperature and pressure. And pressure can mean any places that feel soft or tense. If there's any movement, including your breath. You can follow your impulse. You don't have to stay still. Notice if you can feel your heartbeat, or perhaps even hear it. As you inhale, breathing in and exhale, letting the breath tumble out. Like our pressure release valve. Perhaps that awareness gets to move down your body and into your feet. And you can wiggle your toes, spread your toes if that's accessible. Good. Yeah, and we'll begin to move that awareness into our space. So really move slowly, letting your eyes, if they've been closed, crack open just a little bit. Taking a look around. Perhaps noticing where there is light, where light's coming in. And then maybe scan your space for anything that might bring you comfort. And for me, it's a prayer plant similar to the one I have behind me that's at my horizon line. And so just notice if there's something in the space for you. And any other thing that catches your eye that could bring comfort. Good. I feel like we have something, more or less. Maybe a thumbs up or not if there's something that you feel like is supporting you in the space in some way. Great, thanks. So, foundation of working with activation or the sensations that arise when we feel fear, and I would say the ripples and the currents around fear, is expanding our capacity to slow down and bring more awareness to our experience. And most of us were not trained in the practice of self-attunement. I know there may be some of you in here have spent decades working in this realm, and yet still, right, each moment is like a new opportunity to connect with where we are, who we are, what's arising. And so how do we, as these like giant body receptors, process and metabolize the madness of this moment? Between, right, I wasn't gonna like list them because you're bringing your own. I don't need to tell you what's moving, and that I don't know that would serve you, but between an endemic and climate crisis, ecocide, cultural and political polarization, creating ripples beyond our wildest nightmares, and how these are showing up in the day to day. We are inundated by so much information, and we aren't designed to hold this much. Right? So, fear is a survival response to push away. Many of us know it as to take flight, as a flight response, but even this pushing away, this literal physical, like, don't come near me, I don't want it, like, get away, right? It's a very embodied experience. And sometimes that looks different ways, or that shows up in our bodies in different ways. So we're going to get a chance to explore that a little bit today. I wish we had a ton of time, and we're going to do exactly what we have space for. And so when we look at this response of pushing away and we work, right, we're also bringing in this experience, this sense of anticipatory anxiety that I will define more clearly in just a moment. But it's anxiety is most often a backlog of fear and survival stress. And so if we use this frame of what most of us are likely familiar with of PTSD, I know there's a lot of mental health folks in the room. We know that PTSD develops in response to an event or the aftermath of events, whether micro or macro in scope, it doesn't matter. It's about the impact that it has, right, on our psyche, on our beings. It's like a record that gets scratched and the needle skips, so you have this interrupted song and a dog song, right? And so in the body, this might look like ways we've adapted so we don't get hurt again, so the scratch doesn't happen again. So we'll consciously or not avoid the pain of another scratch, which could be grip, bracing, holding. And our bodies are so wise that they're essentially calling upon what we know to be our survival strategies from our past hurts and applying these strategies to like this new information that's coming in at record speeds. And so when we're considering the stress of what's to come, right, or anticipatory anxiety, I don't know that pre-traumatic stress is like the best term, but it's what we have right now to touch on like this sense of we're working with these large intangible pieces, and that protection or hypervigilance really goes on high alert. And so if we don't see a relief in sight, right, it's different than like there are bears where I live. So if I see a bear coming and I brace myself and right, I have this survival stress and then the bear leaves, I might be able to shake it off, right, as animals do. You know, some of you are familiar with how the nervous system moves. But when we have this looming or large kind of uncontainable, ungraspable, untenable being, very alive, I feel like beings that we're engaging with, this kind of sense of perhaps this larger doom, there isn't necessarily a chance to get relief, right? And it's going to show up, or the energy might come out in different ways, often like numbing, irritation, anger. And so given the collective and planetary challenges right now, these are all really, really valid responses. So I'm going to stop talking for a moment. That was a little bit of a kind of an overview here. And I want to invite folks to, if this is available to you, to go ahead and place one hand on top of your head. So I'm going to adjust myself. So you can let your eyes soften from the screen. And see if you might send any of the thoughts or things that just came up or that are coming up down towards the ground. An image I was using yesterday with a client was for this very piece was kind of like inviting all those thoughts to get on a train and send that train down into the soil, into its next destination. And we'll just take another couple breaths here. Notice what's happening. Yeah. Good. And so you can slowly let that arm settle and come back down. And from this place, I want to invite you to notice where you sense anxiety or fear in your body. It could be right now, it could be after hearing me speak to some of these pieces, or something that you know about where you might hold your fear. Maybe a pain in the neck or tightness in the chest. Yeah. And so I want to give us an opportunity to be together in these responses. And so something I didn't do when we first started that I meant to was to introduce Christine, who is assisting and supporting today. And it's Christine's birthday. So happy birthday, Christine. Christine, if you wouldn't mind going ahead and putting us into some breakout groups of 2. Love to give folks the opportunity to connect with another person, taking a moment to introduce yourself. And then we're going to have about 2 to 3 minutes each to share about what's coming up for you. What do you notice about where you hold your fear and anxiety? You can choose one if one feels louder than the other. And then if you feel like you want to explore further, maybe share about what its impacts have been on you in these last few days or this last week. Yeah. Any sense of other emotions or what else might be connected to it for you? Yeah? Are we ready? Okay, great. So we'll let you know when it's time to switch partners, and we'll see you back probably in about 7 minutes. Okay, the rooms are open. All right, there we are. Okay, welcome back. Reorienting to the whole group space. How was that for folks? Was it helpful to share? Yeah. Does anyone want to unmute and briefly share about what came up for them? Or we have time for about two shares. Or you can put it in the chat as well. I'd love to hear some voices. Beth, did you unmute? I don't want to call you out.
Sorry.
That's okay.
I guess I never remuted, but I will speak if you want me to.
Only if you'd like to.
I just say it is really nice to connect. And I think what came up for me in that talk is the share is that I realize that I don't necessarily let stuff settle. Like I just try to move through it really quickly into the problem solving mode and don't really just let it come through and experience what I'm feeling. I kind of like try to rush through it. So it was helpful to like be aware of that.
Yeah. Thank you. I see a lot of heads nodding in some resonance and yeah, relating right now.
I found that my partner and I were like identical twins in our responses to things and things and and that we shared a common thread of having shame during some of those responses and judging ourselves. And it was just so cool to feel that I'm not alone. And because when you get in those space, sometimes I feel like I'm the only one that feels this. And it was so validating to hear that someone else, goes through it too. So that was really very, very cool.
Yeah. Who else feels that way? Thank you. Yeah. Great. Maybe one more, if anyone feels the urge, the impulse to bring your voice in.
I'll share if there's space.
Yeah, thanks, Chelsea.
I shared with my partner, first of all, I had a great connection with my partner. It was just so nice it's always kind of stressful for me to get put into a breakout room with a total stranger. But always a beautiful surprise when it's just like a really nice, like person on the other side and that we're both coming from a place of heart. So thank you to my partner for sharing and holding that space. It was really nice. What I shared with them is that I hold a lot of fear and anxiety around my heart space, and it translates into a body response, like a protective body response of shoulders pulling forward and heart space pulling away. And I related a lot to what you said at the beginning of the session around the fear response being a response of pushing something away. And I often feel like I'm not sufficiently able to push stimulus away, particularly the kinds of things that we're talking about today, because it's just so pervasive and invasive and it just keeps coming and coming. So my body response kind of defaults to, well, if I can't push it away, I will pull away. And I talked about how it ripples out into my shoulders and into my arms and into my hands, and then also, how I show up in my own life, how I'm able to show up in my own life and my community and beyond.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you, Chelsea. It makes me think, I know I did this earlier, and thanks for bringing this back in, right? So take a look around your space, and we're going to try something really quick in response to that before moving on, is see if there's any flat or stable surface that you can even push against for a moment, right? So I have the wall here. Right, see if you might need to stand up, or if you want to push on a desk that's in front of you, that's okay, or even the chair that you're on. But we're just going to try something real quick as an experiment. So maybe you find a surface, and if this feels available, you can choose to join us or not, up to you. Go ahead and bring one foot forward and really push into that surface. Maybe it's the wall. I'll just call it a wall now, and it's whatever it is for you. And I'm going to invite you to take some, right? I think everyone's muted except me. So you can if you're able to make some sound in your space, I'm gonna just bring in like a pushing away, a sound of like how you might want to push it away. See if you might bring, right, if it's available to you, again, many variations on this, but just you can like really push as if you could literally push the thing that you don't want to be close away. Yeah. Good. Just hang out here for another like 3 seconds. Maybe there's some force that comes in, and then exhale and let everything drop. Good. Yeah. Just see how that was for you. Did you like it? Did you not like it? You feel like anything moved inside? And if you have any responses from the subtle to the strong and you feel like putting them in the chat, please do so. Wow. Yeah. Great release. Yeah, tears with you. Right? This is not a movement that we are that is often something that we do, right? I mean, to even imagine having another person, if you imagine the partner that you were just with in the room, if you imagine putting your hands together, right? Maybe we're not at that level of intimacy, but even if you imagine putting your hands together and pushing away from them, right? That act is one of strength, right? And it kind of counters our push away response. It actually allows us to get in, to be engaged, to meet the moment. So we're going to try another practice now that builds on this. Yeah, so people really resonating with that. So I'm going to ask you to remember that comfort object. If there's comfort being something in your space that brought you some comfort, we're just going to call it to mind. It also could be a person that you feel supported by, right? So we're just going to find our baseline from there. So maybe when you have that back, yeah, maybe just nod. And then I'm going to ask you here, and I want to, I'm listening to pacing, and if we need to slow down, we can. I know a lot just came and moved in. I'm going to ask you to hone in on one fear that you're carrying. And as you consider which one to choose, I want you to choose something that's like a 4, max 5 on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being like ultimate fear, right? The parts of us that want to go to immediately to full existential crises. I know that place really well. I'm going to say hold, right? Let's actually like reel it in. Let's choose something that feels like a 4, max 5 for you. And so when you have this, as you call it to mind, it doesn't have to be perfect. There's no right or wrong choice here. If you can't think of one, although I imagine we do have, you might call to mind someone else's that you know. Just notice how your body shifts, right? If this body awareness is new for you, we want to just pick one thing As Chelsea was mentioning this, right, this kind of caving in the chest, that might be one of your things. Notice what might start happening for you when this fear comes in. Okay, good. We're not going to stay there too long. I want you to come back to that comfort, to that support, to something that might soften you here, whether it's in your space or in your heart. Okay. Let's give that another few moments. See if we can bring ourselves back. If anyone wants some support on this, I don't know. Some of you I'm just meeting for the first time, but we can always bring your kind of make some eye contact with someone in the space, even with me. Bring you back to the present moment. Okay. So if it feels okay, we're going to call that fear back in. I'm sorry, but this is how we practice. All right, we're going to call that fear back in, and I want to invite you to feel, notice whatever you perhaps came in a couple minutes ago when you were just there. Notice what happens now, and I want to invite you to exaggerate it in your body if that's available. Right? So it may be, oh, I want to hide. Maybe, and you can keep your camera on or off, on if you're comfortable, off by all means. You want to hide, if you want to, right? If you feel the pit of your stomach, I don't know, I'm going to grab my stomach, just see what happens. Yeah, video off is great. If you exaggerate it, let it get bigger. Let this response get bigger so we can see more of it, so we can bring it to awareness, so we can know what is happening inside our bodies. Yeah. We're just going to stay here for a few more seconds. Let yourself feel this kind of amplified response that so many of us, speak for myself, often hide. Or, walk around keeping it all together. Good. Okay, and shake that off. Come out, shake it off, and come back. Come back either to the group or to that comfort. Yeah. Good, taking a breath. Oh. Maybe you want to look around the space. We are not, most of us, right, are in a safe enough spaces. We are not under immediate threat in this very moment. I'm right here with you, right here together. Good. Okay. Are we ready to take one more step? Just one more? Yeah. All right. So this time, when we call that fear is now going to, well, it's going to be on the horizon. So this fear, right, is going to be on the horizon line out in front of us, not within us. We're going to put the fear outside. And if you'd like to, we're going to call on the strength and the wisdom and the gifts of this group right now from all over, right? We're kind of weaving this web of collective movement, of collective support. And we're going to stand up to that fear. Standing up could also mean sitting, right? But we're going to rise to meet that fear. And I'm going to start, and I'm going to invite you all to join me. And we're going to experiment with growling or roaring at the fear. Okay? And if you would like to unmute, you are welcome to do so. I want to invite you to let some sound and some, whatever sound your living space allows for. If you need to, do it in a blanket or a pillow, you can do that. You can grab something. But if you have the space to let the expression move, we're going to stand up or sit and face the fear and growl. So coming up and yes, your voices let and if you want to bring your hands into it and you want to let your whole body express the fight response. Yes. Good. Feel that energy moving through. It's collective. You're chanting far more than your own voice. Speak to others that aren't here right now. Good. And from wherever you are, you can keep that going if you like, but we're going to go ahead and shake out. So we're going to shake. You're going to shake, 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 shake. Shaking arms, shoulders. You can let that exhale move. Keep the knees nice and soft. Good. Maybe this is new for some of you, so just want to shake it all off. Shake it. Good. And if you want to let that build into, if this is available, a little bit of a bounce so that your heels are lifting just like a half inch off the ground and dropping to a little bit of a bounce. Variations wherever you are. If you're in offices, outside, good. Yeah. And then let that begin to settle. Notice how you're feeling. Dogs are joining us. Thanks, Beth. Yeah. I want to say that sometimes when we do activate and bring in more sensation, right, it can amplify some of what's here. So, yeah, take a breath, coming back. I don't know about you, but I notice that there's some shifts and some faces. Yeah. So, what was that like? And let that experience continue to move through you. How do you feel now? More focused. Yeah. Alive and tingly, lighter. Right. So this aliveness, you mentioned, like that's It's hard to speak and read at the same time. I want to catch all the words coming in. Yeah, beautiful, collective, strong and safe, spaciousness. Right, so the places that can get held. Yeah, see. Yeah, it really resonates, Chelsea. Yeah. Right, this backlog of information, of things we take in, can get really stuck. And even just a little bit of movement starts to loosen it up, right? There may not be this ultimate release. I don't know if we're looking for that. I don't know what we're, right? We are all figuring it out as we go. I'm not, have any special authority here. This is right, leaning into our human experience in this experiment. And it's such an act of reciprocity to allow yourself to move the energy. It's an act of reciprocity with the earth, with the collective, right? There's give and take here. Some of the questions I'm holding are, what is it like to collaborate with the fear rather than push it away? Can we tend to it? Can we play with it? Can we even love it? Can we soothe it, and can we meet it? Yeah. Yeah. And overall, some softness. So it's still moving. Just notice what you might have access to that you didn't even, 10, 15, 20 minutes ago. There's a cat that's wanting to come in. All the animals are joining us, all the beings. Yeah, that's our animal bodies. So, welcome, Barbara. Yes. So I don't believe we're alive at this incredibly precarious and wondrous moment to be consumed by the fear that holds us back. And I feel this full expression is our birthright. How do we allow it to affect us, to inform our next choices? How do we move with it? Yeah. Right, so even this space in between my words, kind of pulling the space apart to notice, it can be really uncomfortable. I don't know if that's, maybe it's exciting, but it can be really uncomfortable. Like, we're in the territory of discomfort, right? That's how we evolve, that's how we stretch. Oof. Yeah. So I'm gonna have us take another full breath together. Noticing any other places that are soft now that weren't an hour ago, that are open now that weren't an hour ago. I want to call on the collective imagination through each one of us present to be able to create, imagine, design a future where our bellies are soft, where our hearts are open, where our shoulders are dropped. You don't have to use my words, but what's your vision for how our bodies might engage in a way that feels like a radical departure from the path that we may be on? Vision of expressing yourself fully. So see if you can call that in. Like, let's really call it in. Like, what would that future hold? Like, what would it feel like? If there are words that come in, you can unmute and share them or put them in the chat. And as this vision starts to build, you can feel, I don't know, their energy starts to shift in the space. And so let's let that vision expand a little bit more. Maybe it includes the person in the space next to you, includes your chosen family, beloveds. Read some of these so we can feel them. Strong webs of community care and sharing skills, resources, love, real connection, honesty, comfort, laughter and play, access to slowness, empowered truth, vocalized through connection and community. Yeah. Safety and security. And so the words might keep coming in, but I want us to gather these in. Gather these in. I'm going to personally like patch them in the places that have, right, that might need it. Maybe there's one place in particular that could use the reinforcement, the support. Yeah, remembering this fear. It's not ours alone. It's to claim the wider web. Yeah, read in the chat. Okay, so we've gathered it in, and what would it be like to take one step or movement into and towards that vision? Right, is that an embodied step? Is that a breath? What is it for you? Hmm. So maybe you already took that step or that breath or that movement, but I just want to call us in to do it one time together. So maybe one more step together. Yeah. If you want. Like crossing into it, stepping in. Oh, we have a few minutes remaining here. My dream of having us another breakout kind of left about 10 minutes ago, and feeling the impulse to stay together. And so love to, invite anyone who would like to unmute. Maybe toss in a word about how you're doing now. We've been writing them in the chat. We'll get some voices in here. A word or two, not where you are. Thanks for all the wisdom that's coming in. Oops. So much coming in on the chat here. I hope everyone's able to see and movement. Would anyone like to share with voices a few words?
Forward together.
Patricia. Yeah. Anyone else come in?
My love and comfort returned.
Okay. So I'm really in awe of the courage and presence that's shown up, that's here, that you're bringing, and want to make myself available. Anyone would like to connect, social media, email. It's kind of it's like a quick dive, and say we have a lot of more time when we slow down. We have a lot more time when we slow down. And so I'm going to play another song to close us out, and can move your bodies, enjoy, and you can stay on if you'd like. Any questions? We'll be here for a little bit. Thank you all. Really appreciate it. It's such a pleasure and honor to learn and move with you. So, all right, we have one more song to take us home.
This joy that I have, the world didn't give it to me. Oh, this joy that I have, the world didn't give it to me. Don't you know that this joy that I have, the world didn't give it to me. Oh, I said the world didn't give it, the world can't take it away. Oh, this strength that I have, this strength that I have, this strength that I have. Oh, yeah, now. The world didn't give it to me. The world didn't give it to me. This strength that I have. Oh, yeah, the world didn't said the world didn't give it, the world can't take it away. Oh, this love that I have. This love that I have. Oh, yeah, now. The world didn't give it to me. The world didn't give it to me. This love that I have. Oh, yeah, the world didn't give it to me. Don't you know that this love that I have, yeah, the world didn't give it to me. Singing, the world didn't give it, the world can't take it away. Oh, this pride that I have, this pride that I have. This pride that I have. Oh, yeah, now. The world didn't give it to me. World didn't give it to me. This pride that I have. I said the world didn't give it to me. Don't you know that this pride that I have, yeah, the world didn't give it to me. Oh, I said the world didn't give it, the world can't take it away. All this peace that I have, oh, yeah. The world didn't give it to me. The world didn't give me my peace that I have. Oh, yeah, now. The world didn't give it to me. Won't you sing about peace? This peace that I have. Oh, yeah, now. The world didn't give it to me. I said the world didn't give it, the world can't take it away. All this joy that I have, this joy that I have. This joy that I have. Oh, yeah, now, the world didn't give it to me. The world didn't give it to me. This joy that I have. I said the world didn't give it to me. Don't you know that this joy that I have, the world didn't give it to me. Oh, I said the world didn't give it, the world can't take it away. The world didn't give it and the world can't take it away. The world didn't give it, the world can't take it away. The world didn't give it and the world can't take it away. The world didn't give it, the world can't take it away. The world didn't give it and the world can't take it away. The world didn't give it, the world can't take it away.
All right. Sending lots of support and care and courage out into all the webs. Thank you all. Yeah, big love.
Thank you.
Thank you.